Good evening, everybody. Sorry I didn't stream yesterday. I know my plan is normally to do a stream on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Now, unfortunately, my school is suffering a little bit as a result of this kind of a schedule, so there's a quick announcement as far as scheduling is concerned. I know we have a while before some people will file in, but I thought I'd maybe just get this out of the way, and I don't know if I'll highlight it or do something about it later. But the idea here is that I'm going to switch Thursdays to be an optional stream. Now, the goal with that is I still intend to make that a regular streaming day as much as I can, but I will leave myself the option of getting some homework done on that day. So that way I want to keep consistency. So Mondays and Fridays are basically immutable. These will stream unless something pretty serious happens. Whereas Thursday will be my effort to stream as much as possible, but I think the reality is that it's a little ambitious for me to try and have 3 regular days, especially with a lot of things coming due. There's going to be some midterms coming up. My thesis needs some serious work. And just in general, I'm in a stage I'm at the end of my 4th year at university. I'm looking to go to grad school and things like this, and this is definitely a time where keeping an overly ambitious schedule is just going to result in either A, me not doing as well as I want in school, or B, me disappointing people, neither of which I want to have happen. So, not too much as far as a change. I'm still going to try and do a stream on, every day that I can, but Thursday I'm just switching off of a guaranteed streaming day. And actually I'm just updating my little schedule to say that. So with that in mind, we are going to do Crusader Kings 2 tonight. I just thought because Crusader Kings is one that people seem to have kind of followed for a little bit. I figured I'd maybe do some Risk of Rain for at most an hour, and then we can move into the ongoing saga of House Rose. So we're still trying to get some not a bandit unlocked, but I'm still trying to get a win on the bandit since I switched over to Max. So let's jump in and see whether or not I continue my string of bad luck. I do, because I just fell through the world. Let's try that again. One specific thing to mention about this stream is I had a little bit of trouble with the audio setup that I put in from the last stream. Now it was working, and I'm especially curious if it falls out of sync like it used to. So if anybody has some feedback as far as the overall audio quality, or if you can even hear the audio, that's definitely appreciated. But I'm particularly interested in syncing, and whether or not I still get those static problems that I used to have. Maybe another thing that's worth mentioning was I got a little lazy when it came to uploading VODs, so I'm doing a whole bunch more onto YouTube, but I actually noticed, I think I might have missed a couple before they expired, so if there's... What I'm hoping is at least the Crusader Kings streams got saved. If not, it's a little bit of a shame. I definitely want to make sure that the future ones get saved, just because I think there's a little bit of an interesting story that's coming out of those. But if we lost one or two, at least it's the early stuff, and I remember it relatively well, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. So another thing I'm particularly bad at when it comes to the bandit. See, actually, it's maybe better for me to talk about this in light of the heroes that I normally like playing. For instance, the Commando. I like the dodge feature of the Commando. It's a little bit like playing Dark Souls or something like that. Now, the one problem I have with the bandit is that the cloak has a fairly high cooldown, and I don't quite find it as intuitive as, let's say, the roll. So I think what winds up happening is I take more damage than I should as the bandit. He's a fairly fragile character. And I wind up having otherwise perfectly winnable runs lost just because I don't use his main evasive ability. So we'll see if I can improve on this run. I won't lie, I don't feel very optimistic about it. But there's room for improvement. I think the worst thing is I was actually getting ready from... I was playing this on PC. I was actually getting ready to start trying Monsoon because I more or less had a win on every single character. And then it's becoming apparent that I'm not as good as I think I am at this game. Or alternatively, I've noticed that there is definitely a bit of a difference between playing something on stream and kind of playing it on its own. Trying to think of some of the other stuff to talk about because it actually feels like it's been a lot longer than it actually has been since I streamed. I think it's because of the normally I kind of cluster all the days together, like in when I tried to do a regular Thursday Friday stream. So Monday to Friday always kind of feels like there's so much that's happened. TAing's actually turned out pretty interesting this time around, mostly just because I've got a couple of students in my class who are interested in making video games. One in particular, actually, who has decided they'd like to compose video game music, which is something... I'm not without any musical ability. I think most people, when they were kids, had some kind of piano training. I'm certainly no exception to that. But on top of that, I think... when I think about there have been some times where I've composed very simple music for things, and that's usually just using some available software, something like GarageBand on the Mac, or I used a program called Acid when I lived in Kelowna. Just sort of a small hobby thing to do. That's something I've always wished that I could be a little bit better at actually composing music as opposed to using, let's say, a pre-recorded loop or just, the very simple kinds of melodies that I can create just off of the keyboard. But I think it's especially interesting now that through, the different computer science classes, either whether I'm in, a TA or or a student, it's nice that I'm running into people who sort of have this ambition to create games, especially because it feels like the technology to make them is becoming more and more widespread. I mean, I think Risk of Rain is a perfect example of this, a game that a couple of college students made on Game Maker Studio. So I like the fact that it's becoming less costly overall, that it's becoming... it's something that there's definitely, let's say, a diverse number of talents that can sort of switch over into game creation. So for instance, if you have a friend who's particularly good at, the artistic side of things, either one, it's a little bit simpler to incorporate what they can do into an existing project, or alternatively, just training them to do it the right way on your own project, sort of depending on what the needs are. But more importantly, too, I just love the fact that a lot of people are now feeling at a point where they can contribute to something like that. Now, obviously, good feelings alone aren't going to make a game. People need to be serious enough that they follow through. But, I don't know, it's kind of nice, especially getting near the end of the undergrad, at least, to find I hate to use words like this, but basically a network of people who at least share the same ambition. Obviously, I haven't taught... The worst thing, I think, in the world is when you get a group of people together to stand around and just talk about doing something. Before I invite anybody else in, I would be interested in actually having a very concrete idea about what kind of a project I would want to do. But it's sort of nice to know that there are people who very likely would follow through on a project idea. Could also be a mistake too. Like maybe it would be better for me to communicate my interests right away, but I just think there's a lot of people who want to, maybe I won't say want to, but there's a lot of people who maybe just reap the reward of saying that they want to do a particular thing. So, I'll give you a good example of this. If I say to family members or something like that, I can't remember if I had any chests to open here. No, just a drone. If I were to say to family members, hey, I'm probably going to, kickstart a game or something like that. Obviously, they're going to be, oh yeah, you always loved playing games as a kid. It probably ties in with that extra life thing you were doing. Good for you. You get all the reward of doing something ambitious like creating your own thing. Or it could be, any creative endeavor. It could be a movie. It could be something that, usually involves some kind of an investment of time and probably financial resources as well. Now, in the end, it's not really going to matter whether or not you actually accomplish that. And I think that's the big problem is, with the exception of definitely my brother, possibly my sister, the people I know who would congratulate me for making a game are not the people who would wind up playing it. I think it's safe to say that most of the people I know would not play a game even if I was the one who made it. And of course, let's face it, the types of games that I would probably want to make are also the type that, my friends likely would not want to play. I'm a very good example of it. I would probably not be able to make a Crusader Kings 2 style game, but I really like games like Crusader Kings 2. I like games with lots of complexity. And I think it's very safe to say that those kinds of games are extremely inaccessible to a more casual audience. I mean, that's one thing I like about gaming is that it's now become diverse enough that you can have different segments. So gaming is no longer this sole hobby of nerds. Everybody's got a copy of Angry Birds on their phone, it seems, or something like that. So now if there's any argument, it's just the fact that I play better games than my friends. Yes, now I'm allowed to become the elitist because they're walking into my hobby. I probably should have bought those drones ahead of time. I've got plenty of money. I was going somewhere with this. Right, okay, so the idea is sort of the reward that you get. So, the big thing here is that the only reward I'm going to be getting from the kind of people who would know that I'd be making a game ahead of time would be... And I use game as the standard example. There's a bunch of people who would just, the people I know who would give me, any kind of reward for doing something like that would be friends who would never wind up playing the game. And so in the end, I've reaped all of the benefits of... or social benefits of the project directly by starting the project, completely independent of how it turned out. I might have to talk to somebody who's like, oh, how did the project go, or something like that. But in the end, too, there's only so many times somebody is going to ask you that. So the one thing I really don't want to do is just turn it into something where it's all congratulation and no actual accomplishment. I still don't even know, I think there'd probably be a mistake in just working on something in secret for an extended period of time. I think there's a certain point where I would want to get feedback from people. But I also need to balance that with the fact that there are clear incentives in place for me and people working on the project to get stuff done. I haven't quite worked out that angle yet. The other thing, too, is that school provides a lot of excuses for not getting work done. And I mean, it's a legitimate excuse, right? Obviously, my studies are important to me. But I think it could be... I can see how it would be very easy that things that maybe could be worked around other than school, or outside of school, maybe become bigger problems than they should have been, and then school just becomes the excuse, and again, no work gets done. But the key of it was mostly just to talk about the fact that there are some students who are interested in designing games, because I think the important... I mean, number one, I as I said before, I absolutely love the fact that people feel like they can do that now. And the nice thing is that a lot of people put a lot of weight on programming, and I actually think that's probably one of the least interesting parts about it. I mean, in the end, like, because I've TA'd a lot of these people, like, clearly one person sort of knows all of the things that they needed. I'm really bad with drones, that's why I never buy them. I suppose I should actually take care of those because I don't believe I've unlocked the engineer yet. Maybe I'll just save it to the very end. But yeah, so I mean, as far as any coding ability is concerned, a lot of the people I've talked to are people who have actually wound up TAing, so which is not to suggest I'm a better coder than them. In fact, it may be the very opposite. But I think what's really nice is that people who just have an outright good idea or just really good taste are enabled to create games which I would probably enjoy playing. I also think there's a little bit of a, I don't know if I'll say a difference, but I think it gives me a little bit more hope than something I ran into with film students that I knew, which was there's a lot of people I know who just went out and, like, even paying for like a business license or something like that to make a production company. They never actually made a film, not even something like a short film to put into a film festival, or even like just an exercise to, to hone their craft. I think that's a big shame about that. Number one, because it's a waste of money if you're going to make a production company and not actually produce any work from it. But number two, it's just kind of again, it's sort of that thing I was talking about, which is the rewards have already been received. They don't need to make the film to get the good feeling of hearing, attaboy, you made the project. So whether it's talking with students or talking with family members or something like that, I basically don't want it to be a meeting of people talking about what a cool game they're going to make. I'd want it to be something where people, I guess there are, tangible measures of success and incentives to reach those goals. I keep forgetting how much range you get off of those things when you have more than one jetpack. There might be some overlapping sound for a little bit. I'm noticing a couple of weird things. I just need to also find a good place to do this. Actually, I'm just going to pause for a second. So there might be overlapping audio for a minute just because I want to make sure that everything's alright. I just need to also find a good place to do this. Actually, I'm just going to pause for a second. I can't actually tell if any of the scratching is coming through. There might be overlapping audio for a minute just because I want to make sure that everything's alright. I can't actually tell if any of the scratching is coming through. There might be overlapping audio for a minute just because I want to make sure that everything's alright. Okay, this is just some audio over a clean background to see where things are going at. Sorry about this. I can't actually tell if any of the scratching is coming through. There might be overlapping audio for a minute just because I want to make sure that everything's alright. Okay, this is just some audio over a clean background to see where things are going at. Sorry about this. I can't actually tell if any of the scratching is coming through. There might be overlapping audio for a minute, so I want to make sure that everything's alright. Okay, this is just some audio over a clean background to see. Okay, so it sounds like there's a bit of scratch in the audio here. Let me just see if I can get that sorted out. Just going to be talking into the mic for a little bit to see if I finally cleared out some of the audio there. Just going to be talking into the mic for a little bit to see if I finally cleared out some of the audio there. I'm extremely happy that OBS has provided us a Mac version, but the audio solutions that I have much to be desired. It sounds okay to me. Please let me know if things aren't turning out. I've actually noticed that some of the numbers are fluctuating. And I don't know if that's just because people aren't interested in Risk of Rain, or if because there's something about the quality that's turning them off. Usually when I see a lot of people kind of coming in and then running out, it usually means that there's some kind of a problem with the stream. And I don't like being particularly number obsessed, but I think it's important to at least make an effort to try and make the stream as good as it can be, even despite my technical limitations. So as always, if you have any feedback along those lines, I'd love to hear it. I believe that's my first invisibility of the game. Oh crap. I was trying to fix something on the screen. Press X? Oh, hello. All right, hi Freighter5. Unfortunately, I have been having some technical issues today, so I just stood there and died trying to fix things which may not have needed fixing. But just doing a little bit of Risk of Rain, and then we'll be transitioning into Crusader Kings 2 reasonably quickly. I just figured, especially because it was slightly inconsistent with the schedule this week, I'd give people a chance to stop in. I figured it'd be nice, seeing as we've had a fairly big milestone of playing, of becoming the King of Scotland. I thought I'd give people a chance to sort of stop by the stream and get to see that pretty much from turn one. I'm also going to be doing, I think I was mentioning a little bit earlier, it seems like some of the VODs may not have wound up on YouTube before they expired. You're okay with all of these things. Excellent. Yeah, so I'm not sure if all of the VODs were transported to YouTube on time or not. But on the off chance that they weren't, I'm going to be keeping a little bit of a better job of making sure that the rest of the saga of the House of Rose is captured for posterity. Incidentally, as far as Risk of Rain is concerned, I will comment that I think the new item, the Red Whip, is actually more of a detriment than a benefit. I love the fact that I move fast, but I become so used to the speed at which I'm moving that once I get into combat, it really screws me up. Actually, in retrospect, too, this is possibly one of the worst weekends I could be streaming, because there's the Dota 2 Asia Championships coming on, which I thought they were absolutely great to watch. I am still a bit of a Na'Vi fan. I don't want to abandon the team just because they're playing poorly, but the first day was particularly hard to watch. But they're doing better, to even my surprise. This is the big thing, is like I may be a fan, but I'm definitely not an apologist for when they don't play well. Secret's been doing extremely well, as has EG. I was really wondering how they would be performing with their recent roster changes, but both teams are playing really well. The Super Bowl is coming up. Football is actually one of the few competitive sports that I don't really follow, but I'd be more likely to follow than, let's say, some of the others, including hockey, which is technically not my national sport. The e-ball sports game. But yeah, so it's a lot of other stuff going on. And when I actually came online, I almost didn't want to stream just because there were so many good streamers on that I'm like, I want to watch Twitch. But I definitely enjoy streaming, and I miss it when I don't do it. So I might have enjoyed myself while I watched the other streams, but I would have there would have been an emptiness inside. Oh, nice. I actually have a friend from high school. I haven't kept in very good touch with them, but they're a curler and seem to have done a fairly good job of keeping up with it. I'm not quite sure what their team is as far as kind of what level they play at, but definitely seem to post quite a few of their successes and fairly frequently. So I will also confess to have never curled in my life. Just have a quick message. I haven't actually watched a lot of chess on Twitch, and it was mostly because it seemed to be artificial intelligences fighting each other, which I think is absolutely fascinating in its own right, but wasn't quite what I was looking for. But I think that was one of the things that really impressed me the most about curling, is that, if you just look at it without any real thought, it's just like, okay, well, they're throwing rocks on the ice, big deal. But clearly, the attention that everybody's putting on things like the sweeping in front and just the coordination is I don't know, it's something that really interests me. I kind of wish I knew a little bit more about it than I actually do, but there's definitely something about it. Yeah, and as far as chess quality is concerned, I used to be better than I am now. I think I can hold my own depending on the opponent, which is saying absolutely nothing. I think anybody could really say that. Yeah, chess is definitely just one of those games that you can never really get tired of, I think. What's weird though, I think this is one funny thing that I run into, is that I don't have any problems with, let's say, something like, Dota 2 or really any game where they match you off. And clearly they have their algorithm to try and pair you off with somebody who is appropriate. Yet I haven't played a lot of online chess. I usually play chess with somebody in person, and it's funny because one of the reasons why I don't play as much chess as I do is that either I can't find an opponent or there's a fairly large asymmetry between ability. Online chess almost certainly, if there's one sport I think that they have worked on that matching problem for, it would be chess. And yet apparently I have never felt the need to to take advantage of an online matchmaking service. I have no idea why. Because presumably I would, one, become a better chess player, and two, I would, I'd enjoy it a lot more by playing somebody who's of equal level to me. But so far it hasn't happened. Despite the fact that I suck at this game, I'm still going to say that I think there's some responsiveness issues for the controls. Generally, I don't just throw grenades into the ground arbitrarily. That one was definitely a missed opportunity for a dodge, though. It's one of the reasons why I've got the egg. Well, that hurt. I don't know about any good roguelikes lately. I am actually... I don't know if I'll do it tonight or after this weekend, but I'm going to be updating my guide to Dungeon of the Endless, and I'll kind of consider that the last update, unless they do like a major change to the existing game. But I think Dungeon of the Endless is still quite fun. I don't necessarily think you need to get the special edition. If I'm into roguelikes, know the answer to that. Well, I'm definitely into roguelikes, I just don't know about anything new. Obviously Risk of Rain, but presumably you have already played that if you had any interest in it. What else? I did FTL last stream, obviously. Still think FTL's a fantastic game. Yeah, I really seem to just keep going back to my staples. I don't think I've actually played a new roguelike recently. That's possibly just because there haven't been any really big ones to get released. Which I don't necessarily think is bad, because it kind of felt like for a while people felt a need that if they were an indie developer they needed to make a roguelike. And it's nice to see a little more diversity. It's actually one of the reasons why I really liked Dungeon of the Endless, because I think I'm not one who normally plays tower defense games, for instance, but I thought Dungeon of the Endless had enough to keep me interested, that, while I still don't think I'd be a tower defense kind of person, I think they at least got the parts of that genre that are fun no matter what your tastes are. I like it when they have a kind of progression system inside, so I think that's another thing going for it. Actually, I did Rogue Legacy on stream. This is a while back now. I don't think it's ever quite lived up to the promise to me. I think the idea was really interesting, but I haven't quite gotten to a point. Like, I'm obviously not quite good enough at it where I've really seen what it has to offer, but I also haven't quite had enough enjoyment to say I really need to get back to this game as soon as possible. I think I'll still give it a shot. It's just that I think one of the it's a nice problem to have, but I think one of the problems I do have is that I've just got so many good things that I can play. It's really hard to set aside the time to play something where I'm kind of like, okay, maybe I need to give this a bit fairer of a shot. Roguelite is a handy thing for an indie developer since you get a lot of replayability for relatively little. Yeah, absolutely. I think I can't fault a lot of developers for doing those kinds of games. But with that in mind, like, I think it's a little bit like zombie survival games with a crafting element. Like, how many more of those does the world really... Oh, sorry, early access zombie crafting games. You know, like, how many more of those does the world really need? I mean, I think, like, Left 4 Dead was extremely original at its time. And it's, I mean, I think the wonderful thing about that game is it really does capture a lot of the cinematic elements of it. And then, you know, like, I'm not even gonna say that the other zombie games are bad. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't played a lot of them, but like, it's very obvious that there is a market for the idea of a good zombie game with all of these other elements that we like from, you know, Minecraft or Terraria or all these other things. So, you know, although of course I've got the dollar signs in my head right now. I will do a roguelike zombie survival game with crafting available through early access for a mere $49.99. I know on Dragonfall I was talking about this, but I definitely like the idea of developers having a little bit more... Well, you know, I don't even necessarily like this idea. I think it's, under our current system, the best way is if a developer has a little bit more skin in the game. Because I've backed Kickstarters, I'm one of those saps who bought Starbound, and I just think the incentives are all wrong if you just do pure early access the way it's been done. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing in economics. Honestly, I should have gone into commerce with ideas like that. And then, by the way, that's not to say that all early access is bad. I mean, I did play Dungeon of the Endless when it was in early access. I thought it was quite a bit of fun, and I think Amplitude does a fairly good job of it. I think the one thing Amplitude doesn't do a good job of is tutorials. I've been trying to get into Endless Legend, and I'm just finding it really frustrating. And I can remember having the same experience with Dungeon of the Endless, which is exactly why I wrote the guide. But when it comes down to the amount of time, like, because I haven't really found a good tutorial for Endless Legend yet, I might actually have to sit down with the manual and do the same thing with that. And then probably at some point I'll just do that for Endless Space as well. But again, I mean, honestly, like, Amplitude's definitely never going to pay me for anything I write on their games, right? So there's a certain point where I need to say, it's like, listen, could you guys please properly support your games? Support does actually include stuff like getting people into, you know, getting people into the game properly. Like, I think a good example of this would actually also be Crusader Kings 2 and Europa Universalis. I have a lot of friends who I actually think would really enjoy the game, who will very likely never play it, precisely because the tutorials don't give them enough. And I think that's a big shame, because there's a lot of games that will be missed as a result of not enough effort put into tutorials. Actually, for that point, I really wish I could find a good tutorial for Europa Universalis 4, because there's a couple of things about it which I don't seem to have properly grasped, and I'm not entirely sure how to improve them. Seems like the kind of game that would have a big community, though, so I probably could just go onto a forum somewhere and ask for advice. But again, I mean, the big thing is that there's always a time cost involved with that. Like, in the end, I think developers would be better to, you know, spend their time educating the player rather than the player having to spend extra time to educate themselves about the game. That said, there are games that are definitely worth putting the time into learning. Like, I've tremendously enjoyed Crusader Kings 2. It's one of the reasons why I'm happy that it seems to be relatively popular on stream as well, just because it's something that I get so much out of every time I play. But like I said, it's just a shame that so many of my friends won't have the opportunity to play it because it's intimidating. Actually, I'll come back to the originality thing on games because I think I probably should have been a little more articulate on some of my feelings about this. One of the other things that sometimes bothers me about seeing an overrepresentation of, let's say, something like roguelikes is that the one genre where you can really get away with almost anything are independents, right? That's really the place where you take that awesome idea that nobody's done before and you put it into a game, and if it doesn't turn out, there's not a whole lot of cost to anybody, and if it does turn out, you may be the one who's created the new Doom or something like that. And just think of it, right? Like the MOBA genre, or as Total Biscuit likes to call it, Dota style, because he doesn't like the sound of MOBA. But Dota was a mod, and now we've had the birth of a genre that just about every publisher wants to try and get a piece of, which is of course a shame because those are games that don't necessarily do well with fractionalized player bases. But to have it definitely took somebody to sit down and say, I want to distill the essence of an RTS game into an experience of 5 players and automate everything else. When you think about it, like, it's a really brilliant piece of design, because I think I've sometimes had a little bit of frustration with RTS games in that there's not so much strategy as I would like, but once you add more of the strategic elements, the action part sort of falls away. So in this case, the Dota and MOBA style games in general, do put a heavy emphasis on action, but the type of strategy that develops is, I don't know, like I still think this, like, it's robust, right? The strategy is still there. It's just very situational, and I think the difference between really good players in that genre and, just, people who are okay but maybe aren't really going to get any better is their recognition of the strategic elements. So, with that in mind, it's, I'm never gonna fault somebody for doing what they think will be a fun game or a profitable game, because in the end, everybody needs to make a living. But it's always just such a shame to see, an aspiring developer not wanting to go and really test the limits of their expression, but rather just kind of play to some easy ideal. Because I definitely, I really like the George Romero zombie films, right? I think Dawn of the Dead is a really great piece of cinema. For what it is, right? Like, there's obviously some corny stuff in those films, but, overall, I think it did a solid job. I think even the original Night of the Living Dead's pretty good. I think some of the newer ones maybe could be better. But, overall, it's definitely a genre that has some highlights. 28 Days Later is also another good example. And clearly one that sort of relies on what came before. But, I don't know, there just seems to be some kind of a zombie renaissance that happened, and just think there's other stories that could be told that are just as interesting, if not more interesting, and don't require the living dead. But on the other hand, right, because, you know, I think everybody wants to be the maker of a really good zombie story. So how are you going to blame somebody for, you know, for wanting to jump into that? It occurred to me I don't have an infuser, so there's really no benefit to me letting the pigs spawn. I guess it's a bit of money, but I'm probably gonna already be able to open everything. We need now is a ghost story. I could not agree with you more. I think the ghost story it's one that has been done very successfully in the past, and I mean, first of all, I think there's a lot of really fascinating stories that you can tell in that, and I just think I think we've spent too much attention to zombies and vampires. And we've forgotten maybe some of these other stories that have some ripe storytelling opportunities. Like, imagine telling a Holocaust story as a ghost story. I mean, not that the Holocaust... I mean, the one thing I will say, like, the Holocaust is obviously something that doesn't necessarily require any kind of... any device like the supernatural to tell an effective story in. But of course, the point of having these abstractions is to maybe tell a point that wouldn't be well received in a urban legends. Yeah, especially because a lot of urban legend stories tend to be very pulpy kind of movies. But I think there's a little bit more depth that you can get out of that genre. I think actually another really good example is that. I think Shaun of the Dead is a good comedy film about zombies, but like if you think about some of the things that have happened, like considering Men in Black, which is certainly fun to watch as a kid. If you think about what was on television at the time, you've got a show like X-Files. So somebody taking the conspiracy theory trope. And I mean, it's not like conspiracy theories have ever been a big movie thing, right? But Men in Black took the sinister conspiracy and made it hilarious. The sequels are a complete waste of time, but I think there's something about, just taking conspiracy theories and just turning them funny is such a really great idea. Especially when you consider it, right? Like in any other story, in any serious science fiction story, the Men in Black would absolutely be bad guys. So it's even more. I think it's even more interesting that they're able to make it funny from the perspective of the kind of people who we normally associate with this extremely Orwellian view of the world. Although I'm probably using Orwellian I don't think Orwell should actually be a buzzword for totalitarianism. I think Orwellian's probably better suited towards his feelings on language and how it was used. But it's kind of hard to escape that convention. Definitely a lot of people use it. So now you got me thinking about some other genres that would be fun to do. One thing I will say that I think there could be some demand for is a good modern cyberpunk story. Because a lot of cyberpunk sort of thinks about the world as, the fathers of that genre thought of it. So, you've got, Gibson's Neuromancer, which I think was written in the 80s or something like that. I can remember his original idea of cyberspace being because he saw a kid with headphones on in an arcade, and he wanted to think about if that kid had his dream come true that he could jump into the game, what would that look like? And that was where cyberspace came from, apparently. Neil Stephenson, I think I read an interview with him which said that he was writing, I think like he had sent Snow Crash to the publisher in like the late 80s. When I was reading it, it definitely seemed to be something that felt like it was from the early 90s or something like that. Fun fact with Cyberpunk, you have a copy of the original Cyberpunk 2020 core book. Fax machines are big. Yeah, like this is the big thing about it, right? Is that even Shadowrun, which I really like Shadowrun takes place in a very special world that they created. And I think they very rightly did not change the setting to update it for a modern audience. But yeah, hero protagonist. I'm really mad that Twitch decides to automatically censor, but I have a feeling I know what's behind those stars. But yeah, like the big thing here is that all of these stories, like they're great and they should forever stay the way that they are. But clearly our feelings about science and science fiction have changed. And it's not to say that the issues brought up by Cyberpunk can't be explored today, but I just think we have different concerns in the modern age, and I think a lot of the science fiction that sort of... Well, okay, I won't maybe necessarily say written science fiction, because I will actually confess I don't read as much science fiction as I'd like to. But a lot of it does just sort of, when I think of it as a setting to some kind of a game or something like that, definitely seems to be dealing with these established conventions from what are becoming very dated works. And I just think it would be really interesting to see somebody taking these genres which clearly have a lot of potential and just infusing them with a little bit more of a modern sentiment. A really great example, I think, of this would be that Neuromancer, I believe, ends in space, if I recall correctly. And how many cyberpunk stories do you know of that actually have anything to do with space? No, I mean, on the other hand, certainly space does not seem to be much of a priority for us in the modern day, so maybe we shouldn't worry too much about it in our in the cyberpunk stories that we tell today. But I think that's just, sort of an example in terms of some, I think, very fertile places to set some stories that haven't been used. I have no idea why I'm hanging out the way that I am. I should probably just find the exit and run. It's because I have foreign fruits and I think I'm immortal. I really want to use this 50% health shrine, but I know I'll perish if I do so. Teddy bear came in time. These freaking bugs. I think this is it. Damn it. I was trying to get the foreign fruits. Alright, I'm about 6 minutes off of my break, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take that early, I'm going to get a drink, and then we'll jump into Crusader Kings after this. I think with a little bit more time, I'd probably be able to get a Providence win in tonight. But I figure an hour is a good time to let people file in, and we can continue the story of the House of Rose. So, again, I asked only about 3 minutes of your time. Maybe encourage you to get up, do a small stretch yourself, and we will do some Crusader Kings afterwards. Thanks for coming out. Alright. Thanks for waiting. Let's just take a minute here and load up Crusader Kings 2. I know it always changes the ID when I play it, so I need to actually load the game before I can bring it on video. I'm almost certain we were Westmoreland. I was actually playing my British Empire save last, so I can't remember which one we were. It has to be Westmoreland. Thank you. Yeah, good point. All right, Eastman. You've got some big shoes to fill, my friend. Let's take a moment to take stock of where we are. So we just recently took England. Actually, the first thing we'll do is we'll give this man an ambition. We kind of have enough as far as kids are concerned, but okay, so I can get a quick 10 piety or 100 prestige. Let's go for the abilities first. Can we usurp this yet? Nope, still at war. And we did have a claim on Cornwall as well. Alright, now that I've set the mood, we can go back to the game music. I'm sure the VOD will now be muted in that period. Ah, the majesty. Alright, so the biggest worry that I have right now, we've obviously gained our independence from England through becoming the King of Scotland. Biggest worry was that last I checked, England had about 11,000 troops. Now, it seems to me, especially because they're roughly around equal in strength to me, this would not be a bad time to actually try and start a war, just so I can sort of rely on a treaty for a period of time. But I have a suspicion that the time that it'll take me to come up with a casus belli will kind of cancel that out. Next thing, my army is in full strength, but I haven't used any of the retinues, so let's actually maybe start by hiring some of those. I'm particularly partial to archers. I just know they have some morale problems, so let's maybe just start by wasting some gold on those. I've got 880, so 350, that's just a little under half. Go for another one of these, and looks like I can't pick anything else. So that's probably not the best army composition, but that's fine. We'll live with it. Now, this guy, I mean, he could be younger, but this is actually one thing I want to do with Scotland as fast as I can is to get to primogeniture, because right now we have seniority. Yes, I have Scotsman to bribe, good point. But I definitely want to be changing to agnatic, cognatic, and primogeniture as quickly as possible. I'm going to do primogeniture first just because I'm at a point where people are relatively young, and the older the rulers I have, the less likely they're going to be in power long enough to get that changed. Oh, and we can actually, so let's do Majesty for the boosts. Let's take a look at where we are with opinion. So let's grant some title. Whoa, I'm not making him regent. So it looks like I've already... Oh no, I haven't used up all of my titles. So I think I'll make him Seneschal is the one that will... Oh, looks like that's already been used. I really want to get something other than 0, so I'll maybe just bank that for now. Are there any bishops that don't like me? Nope, all regular ones. Ah, yes, we'll do a pilgrimage to get that early prestige. Everyone is almoner. Wait, you can assign that to multiple people? Oh, weird. There's a lady pope. Ah, okay, good. Okay, this guy minus 22, minus 31, so... Nope, can't end the plot, but I can at least frustrate his efforts. What can we do? Oh, right. Okay, so he took that territory that we wanted. I may wind up regretting this, but I think I'm going to just do that claim fabrication right now so I can unite, or at least kind of put these two land masses together. We'll keep training troops. I think I will try to at least get what technology I can. Let's get it from somewhere I'm not likely to get. Oh, you were joking, sorry. I apparently don't have a sense of humor sometimes when it comes to Crusader Kings. I think it's just because I'm still not 100% on how the game works. So, get him collecting. I really didn't want him collecting taxes there. I wanted him in the province above, but I'll learn to live with it. And I think I'm kind of boned when it comes to my bishops. But let's at least go for the bishop that doesn't 100% love the Pope. Halton. Oh, hang on, wait a minute. Okay, no, I don't need to root out heresy. So yes, we will improve relations. There's a side of me that kind of wants to do some research in cultural tech, but I did just get the extra level of majesty. I think at some point I do need to consider legalism just so I can raise my so I can start raising my crown authority levels, but I'm gonna have some time before I can do that. So let's think about Cornwall for a second here. They're really weak, so I think this is definitely a time that I want to push that advantage. Although I'd prefer a different vassal to get this. So I know the original intention was to kind of consolidate, but this seems like a reasonably good opportunity to expand the realm at a fairly low risk. So we'll make the most of it. Oh, you know what? That probably cancels my pilgrimage, though. Nope, looks like it can still go. And I think I said I was going to go to Rome because I've become king. Yes, the first guy who was king and could go on a pilgrimage was going to go to Rome to show off. So Jerusalem and Rome are the two holiest places in the Catholic Church. I will go to Rome and see the tombs of the apostles. Jesus, why do all you assholes have claims on Cornwall? It's a very good question, actually. Should also make sure that I can support... Yeah, they've got plenty of support. And no friends. My things are packed, everything is in order. Soon I will walk the streets of the Eternal City and see its marvels. My journey begins. And my spy master is in charge of the kingdom. Nothing could go wrong. Call to arms. Yeah, why not? I just won't help. Deep in the night, sleeping at the Pilgrim's Inn, you dream a beautiful dream. You are walking through a dense wood filled with the wonderful sounds and smells of nature. Little squirrels run across your path and birds sing in the trees. You keep walking through the wood and then you notice a new and strange but familiar smell. You can't quite put your finger on what it is, though. It's something you should know. Something important. Oh, yes, it's fire! You're instantly wide awake. The room is hot, and you can hear the sound of crackling flames, and a moment later you also hear people screaming, "Indeed, the inn is on fire!" I can help put them out. 10% chance of becoming wounded, and 30% chance of becoming brave. And I could become Craven, so yeah, we'll be a hero. And I just improved my martial ability, so it's quick 100 points. And it appears that I did gain the brave trait. So we'll take a moment here. I also failed to notice that my domain has become rather large, so I have a bit of a decision to make here. I think I will actually try the ambition to have a daughter. It's a little risky because I could just be wasting a bunch of time with that. But diplomacy is going to take me a couple of turns, or it's going to take me the 2 points, so I'll see if I can at least get a quick 10 piety out of that. Continue the tradition of having members of the House of Rose being more pious than the Pope. So it looks like some allies have been called into the war, but I've got about 5,000 troops, so I'm not too worried about that. As you stop to make camp near a river crossing along with the other pilgrims, you observe a group of builders working on a new bridge just upstream. You walk up to them and see what the arches of the bridge... and see that the arches of the bridge are already half completed. The master builders notice your interest and walks up and offers to tell you about the construction techniques they are using. Yes, tell me more about this. Didn't even see if... Yeah, I didn't gain any learning off of that. Noticing people being released from prison, I just wanted to make sure that nobody's actually... in there. I really should pick a plot. I mean, I kind of want to revoke these... I kind of want to revoke the titles, but that'll probably put me in a little bit more war than I want. Let's just kill a family member for the heck of it. I might wind up inheriting his kingdom. Can I usurp this yet? Nope. Rome. You've finally arrived at Rome. As you enter the Eternal City, you are struck by the many ancient buildings and monuments that you pass by. It is truly impressive, and you imagine how the apostles felt when they first came here on their holy mission at a time when the city's power was at its peak. Though large areas seem to be depopulated, the city still boasts an impressive population concentrated around the Tiber River. The holy sites you want to visit are primarily at the basilicas of St. Peter and of St. Paul, as well as other early churches and places connected to the martyrs. You start making your way to the center of the city, hoping that you won't get lost in the traffic as crowds start to get more dense. Looks like I got a call to arms. The saints, this holy ground, how it moves my soul. I realize now that my life up to this point has only been a preparation for this journey. How wondrous it is that the light of the Lord truly shines in me, a poor sinner. From now on I shall always do his work. Praise Jesus! And I gain the trait Zealous. You finally returned from your pilgrimage. It was rewarding and an interesting journey, and you'd do it all again if you could. Still, it's good to be back home. A great experience. Gain 30 piety. Not too worried about the factions yet. So I'm a little curious if the pilgrimage was shorter than it should have been just because I'm currently at war, but I sort of doubt it. I'm mildly concerned I haven't actually seen any enemy troops yet. Now, obviously they were very low anyway, but... It also occurred to me that adding these to my territory sort of ruins the whole plan of trying to connect my kingdom through land, but... Today my brother Edulf asked me for a fief of his own to govern. Promise to arrange it. Actually, you know what? I will tell him he's not ready just because I don't want to revoke titles quite yet. Ah. There's the enemy force I was waiting for. And looks like we can afford to split the force in half, so I'll speed up the siege a little bit. Now we'll see how the King of England... It's actually kind of nice that he's tied up in a war, just because that's going to keep his forces a bit weak. Bishop O'Share of Cartmel claims that he would be a better court chaplain than Bishop Aelthric, and petitions that he should be given the title of court chaplain in the King of Scotland. So he's got 19, and he's got 12. And he's a master seducer! That's always a good trait in a cleric. I think I will... I mean... He obviously thinks very highly of me, so I'm going to suffer in the tax revenues, but I do actually like to have the best advisors in the roles, so... Sucks, but I might as well get this stuff. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of... There's a bunch of stuff that could be done a little bit better in this kingdom right now as far as relations are concerned, so I might as well just have everybody hate me now, and then I'll worry about... I'll sort of rebuild it once things are a little bit more stable. And... let's get him to start dealing with these factions, actually. So... Richard of Galloway... And I'll do the thing I should really never do, which is speed up to 5 when I'm at war. The one thing I will say for war is that I tend not to waste a lot of money on feasts and things like that. But of course, the drawback is that I still wind up paying for all my troops. So I think it's probably better that I actually wasted on the feasts, seeing as everybody still doesn't like me that much. But I'll get through it. All right, so I've got a princess I can marry off. I'd be particularly interested in seeing if there's an Englishman I can get her married to. Which does mean I wouldn't be able to... Well, I'd be able to do the war, but... nope, all married. Could betroth. Ooh, 16 years. Yeah, they don't like me. Well, it was worth a shot. Alright, let's just marry her off to whoever will take her. Preferably not somebody from our blood. Actually, Welsh might be interesting, because that'll probably give me some claims. Probably couldn't do matrilineal. Nope. So I think he's 7, so I'll be waiting a while, but I actually think that's fairly decent, just because if I can't conquer the Welsh the traditional way, I'll at least get some claims out of that. So, why does... Oh, wait a minute. Why does my court have so many places? I believe it's just because... well, I mean, number one, I did just inherit a whole bunch of territories, so I suspect there's been some claims that have been developed that way. For my own personal claims, I remember I did make an effort to sort of distribute the marriages on the continent originally for, or what am I talking about? The whole thing's a continent. Like on the island, mostly so I could have some convenient alliances, but those have actually translated into some claims as well. Like that's how Scotland wound up in my hands. So that's actually also the reason why I did the marriage with Wales. So. I devote myself to the service of the church and eradicating her enemies. I have not yet fallen to any mortal sins, nor do I shy away from danger. I am Galahad! King Eastman of Scotland gains true Christian knight until the 1st of January 1453, giving the following effects. 0.05 monthly piety, plus 10 temple vassal opinion, and 50 prestige. And looks like they are okay with the marriage. So one of my ideal situations will eventually be to seize these titles and hand them out to members of the family. That's especially going to become important with primogeniture. But I definitely want to secure my position on the island before I do any of that, because England is definitely a very credible threat, especially with the alliances that they can command. So I think if I mean, right now I think I want to come up with that land connection in my kingdom first, but then I also want to start thinking about places where England gets a large number of troops and start claiming those. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? I know I think I did this at the end of last stream, but let's just take a quick look. Our prestige is currently 198, so let's see what this guy can do for it. Looks like England's wrapping up their war, so... Got a bunch of money I can get. Alright, let's educate the kid. Now I'm going to at least operate assuming that I'm going to get primogeniture implemented successfully. So he's old and he doesn't have the best diplomacy, but I think that's my best bet. It's also taking a while to claim these areas. I definitely wanted to get a little bit more money. Forgot to auto-invite to the plot, so that's just, I've just been spinning my wheels. Wait, why did I go to this menu? There was something I was meaning to do. Ah! I'll remember it eventually. Sorry, I'm having a senior's moment. Alright, so England is back to building their forces. I may have to abandon the claim just because eventually I'm going to need to get my my court on my side to implement the primogeniture. Cool, 56 gold is always welcome, especially when I'm bleeding cash for the army. Oh, this is such a perfect time to fight England. York's got a pretty strong garrison. Actually, Cumberland's pretty tasty, so I think it's the right call to have the Chancellor working on that. Yay! Got the war score where we need it. Okay, so I'm not worried too much about the factions. Oh right, I remember why I was going to those menus. I wanted to ransom some prisoners. And just for curiosity, I want to see if I can declare war on any of these guys. Oh, I can. Is it because he's heathen? Nope. I think that might actually be... Well, let's finish our ransoming. I think I'll maybe just be a warmonger and steamroll over as much territory as I can, because I mean, at least that's going to be enhancing my military in the long run. Yes, sorry, I probably was ignoring the war a little bit too long. Oh, great. It's expensive, but we're going for it. Okay, first things first. We are fabricating the claim and using it. Ah, we are allies in another war. Well, that sucks. Okay. I actually have no idea what the difference between these two are. But I will make the de jure claim on Powys. Should probably not be so quick to use my vassals, but I figure I'll use them for the initial shock and then I'll just get rid of them like I normally do. Yes, I mean, this could be something that blows up in my face just because I spend all the time working on... Wow, we got another court chat? Okay, well, he's got 20, so we'll do the same thing. Again, this is hurting all of my reputation, or all of my relationships, but... I'll live with it. But yeah, so the primary concern I have about this is... Actually, you know what? I'll just get rid of the vassals now because it doesn't look like they're going to fight me. The concern that I have with this is if England uses this opportunity to build up their strength, because then I'm just facing them with an overall smaller army. But if I can expand it without any real credible threat from England, I just have more vassals that I can kind of build my claim on. Looks like I got too many troops in the zone. Supply limit's 2,000. Well, the garrison's still sufficiently small, so let's just chop up the army and... let's keep them here and we'll take the 2,700 one out. Okay, I think somebody just wants to kill me. Oh, well, they just want to fabricate a claim, but I will have none of it. And I think this guy still doesn't want to... Okay, he will abandon his plot, so let's see whether or not I actually want him to. So, -9 opinion of me, and an 11 opinion of me. What does his heir think of me? No real opinion, so... Because I can probably buy this guy off with a title, I can. What is it, -9? Yeah, I can just make him Master of the Hunt. So in this case, I'll just put an end to the plotting. You win this country by accident, fair and square. Exactly. Yeah, so I mean, here's the problem. They're growing their forces a lot more quickly than I want them to. Ah, but they've got a revolution, so opportunity knocks once again. Let's get my chancellor doing something a little bit more effective. So who hates me in my kingdom? Oh, this is perfect. Okay, so just the Chief of Galloway, who I think I'm working on with the spy anyway, so yeah, I mean, less than ideal that I've now tied up my forces on Powys, but it looks like that siege will be over pretty quickly due to some random encounters anyway. As long as he's fighting the rebels in York. He might be losing Cumberland, actually. Well, actually, that's fine. If I still have the claim on Cumberland, then it's just a... work has become boring and the hours of the day drag on. Diligence may be a virtue, but it's exhausting. I lose the trait diligent. They also have negative money. Yeah. So the one thing I'm not clear on is how I... Wait a minute. Well, I can still take him. Yeah, so the thing I'm not quite clear on is, do I want to wait till the revolution is over and claim Cumberland that way? Or do I... let us obligate the vassal. No reason to be nasty about these things. Thank you for reminding me of my duties and obligations as a vassal. You are right, of course. For the foreseeable future, you have my promise not to support factions conspiring against you. Alright. Looks like he is still supporting factions that are conspiring against me. I also seem to have lost my option to usurp something. But yeah, sorry, so I should finish my thought for once. So I'm not quite sure if I should be waiting for the revolution to finish and then press the claim, or if I can get it fast enough that that they don't lose it, because I know I'll lose this claim if it ends. I don't know. We'll see where it's sitting by We'll see where it's sitting at the end of this encounter. Should also make a decision about what I'm going to do with these guys. I should probably consolidate my forces and wipe them out once I claim the capital. Yep, never mind. Looks like they're just going to get their asses kicked by some Vikings. Can I switch my culture to Scottish? That is a very good question. How does one switch one's culture in this game? Breton Celtic, Scottish Celtic, Welsh Celtic. I'm just gonna unpause, but oh, it's a diplomatic option with myself. Let's take a look. It appears that I cannot change my culture. Well, looky here, we got more people who want to take other people's jobs. So my current marshal has 7, and he wants to be replaced with a 10. I'm happy with that. Nope. I don't feel too well. Something is wrong with me. I'm burning up with fever. My nose is running and my head feels as if someone is banging something hard against it. Please kill me. What a drama queen. Alright, well, looks like my spy master's staying there. My liege, my mission to Galloway so far has been a success. During my visit to the court of Chief Richard of Galloway, I seem to have managed to make him understand what a benevolent and peaceful ruler you really are, and he sends his regards. Your humble Chancellor, Bjorthmayer? Right, well, hopefully that deals with the faction. Still isn't positive. I think I may not have to do it for the purposes of... I may not have to do it for the purposes of succeeding in the, or for disbanding the faction, but... Ah, damn it. Okay, I was hoping by keeping them there that they would still be able to continue the siege, but looks like there aren't enough men, so let's just switch places. Got another prisoner I can ransom. The fever is gone and my nose is dry, the headache is long gone, and I feel alive once again. Alive! See, again, overall this is just taking too long. The garrisons aren't particularly troubling, but... My liege, may you live in harmony and contentment. I've discovered a plot where Zote seeks to kill Herwald. I don't know who any of these people are, but it sounds bad. Ah, well, he's my blood, so... It's the Queen Mother who wants to kill her kid? Oh no, grandson. What's wrong with you, Mom? Jesus. Wasn't she the one who always kept poisoning the last guy too? This family. Alright. And this is not an espionage-oriented culture. I think this is the least bad out of my options. Looks like there's still another castle to take too. How's England doing? Drowning in debt and only 1,000 troops. So I suspect I will be fighting these guys for their territory. I mean, that's possibly the best thing that could have happened to me right now, because they were really the only credible threat on the island for me. The rest of this is basically just going to be gobbling up smaller neighbors. My liege, since I arrived in Westmoreland, there has never been a shortage of soldiers reinforcing the troops stationed there. Under our guidance, they believe fame and fortune awaits them. So, I think eventually I'll start switching these guys into developing technology, but it'd definitely be better if I could sort of consolidate my position. The best, of course, would be if I can basically have peace treaties with everyone, because that means I will have conquered some territory as well as... I'll have conquered territory as well as be in a position where people are not likely to attack me, but I think that's a little too optimistic. We'll see where we sit once I've sort of claimed the territories that I want. I also don't think there's a lot of heathens left on Ireland. But I'll at least be able to get a good claim on Wales. I guess I could just look at religion. Yeah, so, I mean, unless Vikings have taken over a spot I don't know of, there's definitely no holy war options for me. Fortunately, though, with Devon and Cornwall, I should have a fairly good claim on the Kingdom of Wales in a little bit. So I've got 1,100 troops there. What can I claim? Probably not the menu I wanted to look at. 750? Yeah, I can at least start some work on it. Oh, wait a minute. I should be looking at the personal holdings of my opponent. Something tells me... Yeah, well, I'm already working on that, so... I'll just move wherever I can. I don't quite want to disband the troops, even though... Oh, of course... Okay, I'm not quite sure how the garrison system works then. Maybe I'll have to disband. Should I be worried? No. He's currently occupied. I didn't realize this guy was a cavalry leader. Alright, well there's nothing I can do with this set of troops, so I think I'll just disband them and save the money. I mean, I could just try redividing my forces, but it seems like most of the garrisons are 1,500 anyway, so... Actually, maybe... Should probably engage these people on the field. That was kind of dumb of me to get rid of them. Yeah, I think this fight's going to be over before they show up, but that's fine. We'll just take over the rest of the territories. I've also kind of been neglecting my infrastructure, but that's mostly just so I can have enough money for mercenaries should the need arise. There's something I was going to be looking for. So you got it in... Okay, so I got 4 years before I need to worry about changing the succession laws. Yeah, so looking at Wales... Actually, there's probably an easier way for me to check this out. I just want to see how much more I need before I can get the Kingdom of Wales. So I control 4 out of 10. So I'm really only going to get the 5th out of this particular engagement. I probably can't claim Gwynedd. I think I might need to actually... I think I might have too many duchies. I do. I think he was bugging me for land. Oh no, but he already has... Well, okay, whatever. Let's... Oh, you know what? I'm gonna need to take the lands with it too. Okay, well, I think I'll just live with the reputation hit or the opinion hit for now, and then I'll come up with a way of turning this into a properly landed title. I probably should have thought about that before I usurped the title. I think the rest of these... Yeah, they're just not liked enough. I'll maybe release them after the war, but no reason to give them away for free. But yes, I mean, just taking a look at the... I mean, I lucked into Scotland. I have a claim on Cumberland, which was a fairly large military holding for England. Looks like England is just going to cede a lot of territories to the rebels anyway. So basically my biggest threat has just had their ability cut in half, and they're broke. I don't quite have enough to make the Kingdom of Wales, which would have given me access to a whole bunch of... basically just a bunch of claims. Oh, my brother Adolf. Oh, I can't believe I let that go by. Do we have any... Aha! So I believe Wessex is also one of the territories that isn't currently being disputed. Yes, so that possibly gives me a future claim as well. So yeah, I mean, the biggest threat is currently undergoing a really costly revolution that they're probably going to lose and is not in a position to defend themselves on the one territory that I wanted. If I can find a way of wrenching out one more territory in Wales, I'll be able to create that kingdom and then basically just have a source of claims, so that's another way to expand the kingdom. I don't have a really good toehold into Ireland yet. I think I'm probably just going to have to pay for the cost to the the Chancellor and stuff like that. But I mean, overall, that's a pretty... I'd say overall that's a pretty minor problem to deal with. And I think what I'm just going to have to do here is abandon my... Well, okay, actually, I'll just either wait for this guy to die, or I'll abandon this murder plot and instead fabricate a plot to claim Galloway from him. Creating that kingdom might not be a wise idea. So why wouldn't you create the kingdom in that case? I mostly had the idea of an empire in mind. Since if I die, it's one more title to go to someone other than the guy that I am playing. I thought that wasn't a problem under seniority. Okay, cool. So we've got a claim on Gwynedd, and he is a vassal. And we also have a claim on Desmond, but I don't have that. I need to create the empire before I start creating the kingdoms. Okay, well, I mean, I'm not going to be able to create the... Oh, wait, I can create the empire without the kingdoms. Okay. Well, it's... I mean, I'm a long way off from this anyway, but I think what I need to decide now is, do I go for Cumberland, or do I try to make the claim on the other territories? Let's at least start educating some kids. So I'm curious why it's not telling me how that war is going. Well, it's 20%, so I should be able to claim Cumberland before it becomes a problem. If that conflict ends our war, will too. The forces of the Legion and any other revolters will be hostile to our armies. Oh! Okay, you know what? I think I'm just going to take the easy claim and wait for that. I'll wait for the revolution to sort itself out. I think some of these guys might get caught out by the troops here. Oh, maybe not. It's probably not the optimal strategy to move them so far away from the point of conflict, but I just don't want to have a bunch of people at low morale caught. And the poisoning grandmother is finally dead. One thing I will say, I really dislike having to chase down enemy armies. Oh, so you know what? This is a problem now, because he's apparently not getting his ass kicked in the revolution. I think I should have just gone for it and hoped I had the conflict over in time. Alright, so who do I marry the detached priest off to? Again, I'd rather not keep it in the family. McAlpin family might be interesting. I mean, they're already... I mean, obviously, I already own Scotland, but... I don't think there... Oh, there's an Irish in here. Let's do that. I'm not too worried about these factions, but I don't like the fact that they're growing. I think it just mostly means it's going to be harder to get the succession laws that I want in. The feeling of being watched and followed seemed to have disappeared overnight. I am safe. I lose the trait paranoid, which I believe I actually chose for this guy. I think I may need to abandon my hopes for a daughter. Alright, so actually it looks like it was the right call not to do the fight for Cumberland just because I've got... looks like that is back in English hands again. I got a particularly terrifying number of troops. So I need to think how I'm going to handle this one. Part of this is from allies. Ugh, 6,000 troops. I do not want to be touching that at all. I mean, I do have the option of mercenaries still as well. I think we'll just see how this stuff goes. So if I seize Galloway, I can give that to him. But then, I mean, actually I already kind of gave away the one title that I have. I'll just say he's not ready. No more ransoms. Alright, so looks like England's back at full strength. What are my mercenary options? I mean, my military is not trivial, just it's not quite where I want it to be. Can add another 4,500 to it, so it's not... Like, as long as I design it well, I should be in a fairly good spot, and especially because like the Allies aren't going to be able to come in time either. I think I should maybe just get a little bit more secure in my position before I do anything too drastic. Let's actually take a minute to check in on my vassals and see who hates me. Still the Chief of Galloway. I think these guys can just be bought off when I want to bring in the succession laws that I want. I definitely have reigned for 10 years now, so it's mostly just a matter of getting people to like me. $7,000 troops. Thank you for 85, and thank you for stopping by the stream. It's a little later than I thought it was going to be tonight, but should be good. I have a suspicion I will probably have Cornwall by the end of this, but I'm probably just going to splurge on mercenaries from the very start and just pound England into the dirt from the get-go. But it'll be available for VOD, and we'll see you for next stream for sure.